On this week's episode, we preview the WWE's Royal Rumble. Could there be some signs of trouble for Peacock? And should we call it the Book of the Mandalorian? All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great shows, and if you can, please give us a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to sports right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, Lakers Fast Break, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, Game Source, the great folks at Vampires and Vitae, plus all the things that we do for Pop Culture Cosmos, because we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every day at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, where you can find hours upon hours of great videos of our tabletop RPG action, because we're the #1 streamer on Facebook for tabletop RPG gaming. And if you could support all of that, give us, and share the word about the Pop Culture Cosmos, Vampires of Vitae, and all the great things that we do there. It is sincerely appreciated. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. She is the mastermind behind many of these games. Don't tell her husband, Robbie, because he probably is in the car going, I do a great job each and every week of creating all these games and do an awesome job of it. And Melinda's going right there, sitting right next to him going, it's me. It's all
No, that's not true. It's not true.
I'm teasing. But if you can, go ahead and support everything that she's doing today with her awesome show, Vampires of Vitae, that she works so diligently and so hard on. It is sincerely appreciated. It is my good friend. It is Melinda Barkhouse Ross. And Melinda,
yes.
I am glad to have you back on the show. I know this week was kind of busy for you.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things going on with Vampires of Vitae. Before we get into today's episode, can you give everybody an update what's going on with you, Robbie, and everything going on with at Vampires of Vitae?
Sure, yeah. So we just published our 14th episode of season 2, and we finally. So Robbie has been trying to get us to go to this particular place for probably since about mid-November. And we just got there at the end of the last episode. So that's pretty interesting. There was recently a car bombing outside of Church of Day.
Okay.
Which happened a couple of episodes ago. So it's been pretty intense couple of weeks for Vampires and Vitae, that's for sure. But
were there some deaths involved in that? Hope not.
Yeah, well, I mean, there were some injuries and stuff, but luckily one of our characters was actually a nurse during World War II, so she was able to rely on her previous training and stuff like that. My character is kind of a medium, so she was able to help people cross over, so there were no lost souls or anything like that. And the good news is that we captured who we believe is the culprit. So we'll see how that shakes out here in the next couple of weeks.
Ooh, interrogation time right there.
Yeah,
Vampires and Vitae. Ooh,
absolutely.
Sounds interesting indeed. Plus, catch all of her great shows each and every week that she goes ahead and puts them out there at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. Plus, if you can subscribe and be an active participant of the Vampires and Vitae community, it's right there all over the place on social media, plus also Pop Culture Cosmos. I know she would appreciate that as well.
Yeah, we all would. We love hearing from people who are enjoying the show. And we even love, why are you guys playing it this way? Why are you playing it that way? Because we homebrew a ton of stuff. If anybody has any comments or questions or concerns, we love hearing all of that kind of stuff. We love hearing from people. So
there you go. There you go. Vampires and Vitae out there for you. Please go ahead and check it out each and every week. You'll be glad you did. But we got a great show lined up. We're going to be talking about a lot of good things. Want to mention on the back half of the show, John Orlando from the PVD cast returns. Our wrestling man, indeed. He comes back to us previewing the WWE's Royal Rumble, which starts the WrestleMania season. So he's going to be talking about the men's and the women's Royal Rumble. Who does he think might win? Who do I think might win the men's and women's Royal Rumble? We're also going to be talking about the heavy rumors on who might actually be doing some surprise entries into the Royal Rumble and where this will lead to as far as Saturday's action at the WWE Royal Rumble, plus his thoughts on GCW, an independent wrestling organization that is getting a little bit of notoriety out there. So we'll talk about that coming up on the back half of the show. Plus, Melinda and I, in the back half of the show, will also be talking about Star Trek Picard. Season 3. I know Season 2 has not even debuted yet on the Paramount Plus network, but Season 3 was talked about in an interview recently by Patrick Stewart, I believe on SFX Magazine, where he was talking about a possible ending for the series. We'll talk about that as far as Paramount going, maybe saying, no, wait just a second, that's not entirely true just yet. So nothing's been confirmed 100%, although Star Trek fans are being led to believe it. I want to hear Melinda's thoughts on if this will be an ending for the series, if that's a good time, or if the series should continue on past the season 3. That's coming up on the back end of the show. Plus, with EA's announcement of Respawn not doing just one, not doing just 2, but 3 Star Wars games in the collective that they're working on, we're going to ask Melinda what kind of Star Wars game would she like to make if she were in charge of EA. So that's coming up.
And no angry emails about my answer.
Yes, and no angry emails about her or my answers. So we'll have some thoughts on what kind of video games in the Star Wars universe we would like to make. That's coming up on the back end of the show. Plus also Peacemaker episode 5 had a little bit interesting twist, a little bit more action. Did it get any better for us? We'll talk about that coming up here. And Peacock, with Comcast shouting out its numbers to its shareholders today, one of the most startling numbers was a $1.7 billion loss for the Peacock network after another year where they also suffered heavy losses. We're now into year 3 of Peacock, and I'm going to talk to Melinda about if this channel, if this network is on the road to doom, or can they right the ship and start turning some kind of profits and getting more subscribers? Talk about what kind of programming maybe they can go ahead and do. We'll talk about that on the show as well. But first, my friend, it is the book of Boba Fett. I think episode 5, because right off the bat, the entire community was energized by the appearance of the Mandalorian, which we knew was coming. Well, not only was it an appearance, it was an episode entirely devoted to the Mandalorian. But as soon as he came on screen, I was excited. Now, that excitement kind of wore off as the episode continued, because we did get a look on this almost like Halo-like planet where that he was on, getting his latest bounty, but also confronting the last members of his Mandalorian sect that he's a part of, talking about the lore, talking about the Darksaber, where it originated from, talking about what they've had to suffer through as a community, but also talking about since he lifted up his helmet and showed his face to Grogu and everybody that was there in those final scenes of season 2, that he now has to redeem himself based off of his sect of the Mandalorians, has to go to Mandalore underneath, I think, like some hidden waters that he has to go ahead and redeem himself and bathe into, but so he can go ahead and fully redeem himself and become a true part of his sect. Now, some Mandalorians, as we've seen from Bo-Katan and her followers, don't follow that same philosophy anymore. So, and this was something that he's not even born into it. He was actually adopted into it because his homeworld was under duress from the Empire, and he was actually saved by a Mandalorian. So he's not actually, this is not actually his true origins, but he just wants to follow the guidelines of the certain sect of the Mandalore. And again, you find out more about the Darksaber, him having a battle to try and gain keep control of the Darksaber. You saw that during the episode. You then saw him go to Tatooine, and his good friend from the previous episodes, who she there was giving him an idea that she had a replacement for the Raven's Crest, the ship that he flew for much of the previous 2 seasons. And this was an old fighter from the Star Wars Episode 1 days, from the prequels, that I know a lot of the people don't want to watch again, don't care to watch, and some want to forget that they watched. But if you remember the fighters on Naboo that Anakin Skywalker flew on in the Episode 1, that's what they had, a tattered, beat up old version of that he built up for the back half of the show. So that shows that. And then finally, someone in the main cast of the Book of Boba Fett, Fennec Shan, aka Ming-Na Wen, who we absolutely love here on the show.
Yes.
She dropped in at the final moments and said, "Hey, can you give us a hand with Boba Fett? Really needs your help with the Pike Syndicate." So he said yes, but I got to go ahead and check. I got to go ahead and meet a little friend first, because I've got a gift for him, which I think is going to be some type of Beskar armor or something like that. It was so funny because they melted down in the early part of the episode that Beskar spear.
Yes.
In order to do that, that
You're
huge
talking about a
long
helmet
Beskar.
or something? Yeah.
No, it's a Beskar. Yeah, it was a Beskar spear.
Yeah.
And it could be a helmet that we're not sure yet. But the Beskar spear was melted down into a teeny tiny gift. So all that Beskar spear was melted down. Where's the residuals? I don't know. Can I have some of the leftovers? Were they just lying on the ground or something like that? I don't know. But that teeny tiny gift for Grogu was made out of a big long spear. So I don't know. It's kind of very wasteful to me. But all my babbling aside, this was an episode of The Mandalorian that was stuck right in the middle of Boba Fett.
Yes.
And while everybody is cheering and everybody's saying it's a great episode, I thought it was okay. I thought the first half was much better than the second half. When it became Mando's garage, I really didn't think that was great, but or at least it was too long. But this has turned into an episode of The Mandalorian.
Right.
Was that the best thing for the Book of Boba Fett?
Probably not. I mean, in some ways it was pretty great because if viewership for Boba Fett has been waning, yeah, I'm sure they may have even anticipated, because obviously they had this episode planned, right?
Yeah.
So perhaps it was a little bit of goodwill. Like, hey guys, like we understand that you really want this guy, but we're gonna get through this guy's story first, and we're gonna bring this guy back in. But here's a whole bunch of this guy. Be here next week because he's gonna actually do some stuff.
Because we talked about Hawkeye and how it started soft,
Yeah.
but moved up and raised up and actually gained an audience over the course of its lifetime to end up pretty good ratings wise. And we talked about how Book of Boba Fett started out strong, and obviously by what everybody's reaction is, probably the ratings are probably not as strong from there. But I agree with you, they had to do something. And obviously when they initially announced it was going to be 4 episodes and they suddenly made it 7, you had to think something was fishy. And we talked about all the flashbacks maybe being used as filler. This was filler, and it was a filler of a kind that a lot of people are talking about, which is great for Star Wars fans because they got something exciting. But
Yeah.
I don't think, again, it was the best moment for the Book of Boba Fett because of the fact that, again, now it takes all this attention away from whatever you're trying to build and puts it squarely on the Mandalorian. Because now everybody's just going to be looking at, I want to go ahead and see the Mandalorian now. I don't really want to see what what's going to happen with the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, and it's a risk. So we're gonna have to obviously wait and see what happens next week. But I honestly and I how can I say this without being blue about it? It was very risky. And I appreciate the courage that it took to take that kind of a risk. With a character that people have been enjoying now for a couple of seasons, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been enjoying the Boba Fett series. Honestly, I'm sure it's a little bit slow and stuff like that, but I've enjoyed the story. I've enjoyed learning more about the character, which obviously was the point. And I don't know that they ever really planned a season 2 unless it's already been announced and I've missed it. Did I miss it, Gerald?
They have not announced a season 2 yet for the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
They've not even announced, Hawkeye. They've not announced. The only one that they've actually announced for their previous ones were,
Right.
of course, the Mandalorian,
Yeah.
and Loki. I think they've also announced officially actually that was mentioned on the show itself at the end credits that there would be a season 2. So
Right.
those are the only shows that I'm familiar with that they've actually announced for a season 2 officially on the Star Wars or Marvel front. But you could get a sense that maybe Captain America and the Winter Soldier, that will go to the movie screens. We'll see Anthony Mackie's future most likely in Captain America movies. With WandaVision, it earned so many awards and acclaim that I think that we'll be seeing a season 2 out of that.
Right.
Hawkeye, I would love to see Kate Bishop's character evolve even more onto season 2. With the Star Wars side, you don't know. The Book of Boba Fett, again, the reactions have been much like what you're reacting to, much like everybody else is reacting to. You heard the Book of Sloba Fett. You've heard, and that this is just boring and slow, and it's funny because you can get leading into this episode. There's the little intro that they do before the title screen hits.
Mm-hmm.
You can get pretty much all you need to get is you can get from that little blurb right before. You don't have to sit through the other episodes. You can get all the information you can get leading into episode 5 from that little 2 to 3 minute trailer right there that they stick before episode 5.
Yes.
I'm thinking that and the 10 minutes of episode 1, that's all you need from the series.
That's fair. But I like that we saw him, teach that desert clan to fight and be able to attack the train and stop the train from killing them in the deserts and stuff like that. I enjoyed that episode. I thought it was really well done. I liked how it was filmed. There's just a lot of things that I really enjoyed about that episode. And then when we put on episode 5, I was like, I am going to have my homework done on time. Gerald is going to be proud of me. I am going to watch this show. And then it was not the show I was anticipating. So yes. I was very confused last night when I sat down to watch it. I enjoyed it. I even enjoyed the the Mando garage, as you put it. I enjoyed
it was fine for what it was for a few minutes, but when you keep on asking for wrenches and trying to do comedy with the droids, and it was dragging out, and that's the thing.
Sure. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I like the relationship between the two characters. I like I don't know. I just enjoy it.
The interesting part was the lady that she used to date a Ewok. So yes. That was not an Ewok. She used to date the character, off the top of my head. So yeah, she used to.
Oh no.
She used to date the not the Ewok.
The Wookiee?
No. I'll think of it here in a second. Okay, but yeah, it was something where I guess again it has its charm, but it just was played out too long.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I liked it. I had a lot of fun with it, and I am here for it. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more of hopefully the Mandalorian in the last few episodes. It'd be really cool to see them hunt some bounties together or something like that. What do you think it is about the Boba Fett series that just isn't really living up? Like, did we want to see him doing more bounty hunting and that kind of stuff? And that's just not what we're getting, and we're disappointed.
I think we did. I think we needed to see a little bit more of that before he gets into this. I want to become the master of the Tatooine underworld.
Sure.
I think that's something that everybody wanted to see, something more exciting. It just seemed like right away they were so ready to go ahead and put him in a position of control. I understand that after years of bounty hunting, and of course what happened to him in the Sarlacc pit, he wants a change, and it made him, come to realization that maybe he wants a change for the better. I get that, but it's just disappointing to see that there wasn't a little bit of action. I would have loved to have seen maybe in the first or second episode him going on one of these bounty chases, and then something happens dramatically that changes his whole outlook. Maybe that would have gotten everybody a little bit more amped up in there.
Yeah, I agree. Because I do see where it is slow, and I do see the problems with the series. Like, I'm not saying that I, am a diehard trying to sell the series to anybody or anything like that, because it's not the case. But I've just been enjoying it. Perhaps I was going to say perhaps it's my age, but you're older than sorry, but you're older than I am, so maybe it's not. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's the strangest thing to me. Huh.
It is. But I've just when the reaction online, everybody seems so excited about what's going on with the Mandalorian, any
Yeah.
type of thing that they could get, and there nobody seems unhappy that that the Mandalorian is now completely replaced what's going on in the Book of Boba Fett. That when we go back to the world of Boba Fett, or after, hopefully we'll see what happens with Mandalorian going to visit his little friend,
Right.
aka Grogu.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll see that reunion, and then we'll get back into the Book of Boba Fett. But I'm assuming when the Book of Boba Fett happens, everybody's going to be like, "Oh, we got to go back to this again." You know what I mean? Everybody's going to have a little bit of a downer after seeing the
Yeah.
Mandalorian.
Maybe that's possible too. I hadn't really considered that angle of it. Maybe they just need to focus on him defeating the twins.
That's a
I mean,
good yeah.
would that be like an okay series wrap up, or I guess season wrap up, quote unquote?
That could be the case. I definitely think that could be something very interesting right there. But we don't even know if the twins are the major villains in this equation, because the Pike Syndicate seem to be the one that they're playing the most on. But we haven't seen as much of the Pike Syndicate to actually care about them as an evil force that Boba
That's
Fett
true.
has to defeat.
Yeah, that's true too. I don't know. It's very strange. It's very strange. Can I say that one more time? It's very strange.
Yes, it's very strange.
But I would just like to see him finish on a high note that hooks everybody into a season two. I really do. I think that they've done a lot of background painting and stuff like that, and it's time to delve into the seedy underworld and get him to be the boss and rough some people up and stake his claim and all of that. Bounty hunter stuff.
Bounty hunter stuff, indeed. But what are your thoughts out there on the episode 5 of the Book of Boba Fett, or should I say, the Mandalorian? Who
Yeah,
knows
it's
what
a
you want to call it?
preseason hype video is what it was.
Yeah, that's for sure, and it sets
Yeah.
up what's going to go on in season 3, at least on the Mandalorian side. So please let us know your thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett episode 5. Are you excited for the return of the Mandalorian, and do you now actually even care anything at all what goes on for the rest of the Book of Boba Fett? We want to hear your thoughts. PopCultureCosmos@yahoo.com. Well, before we hit the break, Melinda, I wanted to go ahead and ask you real quick. Episode 5 of Peacemaker got a little more interesting this week. Yes, the F bombs are still flying left and right, but
Eagly is still being an eagle.
Eagly is still being an eagle.
Okay, good.
Yes, the butterflies, they've now connected to where a good portion of them were at, because they found where they were manufacturing the butterflies' food source.
Okay.
And to get everybody up to speed, butterflies are a little alien-like creature that possesses a host body, like let's say one of us, for instance, and then they could go ahead and, your control, whatnot. But the only thing that they eat is a food source. I guess it's manufactured from this one certain spot. And the team went in today, and the team went into this episode and basically wreaked havoc upon all these unsuspecting butterflies and the hosts that were in them, and just basically Peacemaker blowing away left and right. They ended up, I guess, with a final battle against a super-powered gorilla, which was very interesting, and who met an untimely end at the end of a chainsaw,
Oh,
per
God.
se. So yes, so that was very gory and
Uh-huh.
very for this is a very M-rated show, so it fits
Yeah.
right in with what James Gunn was going ahead and planning out. It was funny though, because there was a scene in this while they're battling the gorilla, where you could clearly see the stitch line of the costume that the gorilla was wearing.
Oh, no,
So it's
really?
like, yeah,
No!
it's like, oh,
CGI
not
guy
good.
mixed that one.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So it was like right down the middle. It's like, oh, stitch line. There you
Mhm.
go. But again, it was kind of more of a fun, upbeat type of episode, because previous episodes were kind of just getting a little bit on the downer side, and I know a lot of people have been reacting that way. A lot of people, not like yourself and some others. I've talked to TJ Johnson, talked to some others about they've tried to give it a shot, and they've just not been able to stick through it. So
Yeah.
right now, Peacemaker still is obviously getting some good buzz, because James Gunn recently announced, in fact, today, upon some conversations that are out there that not only is Peacemaker most likely, or there's some good word that there will be a season 2, but that there may be another Suicide Squad spinoff in the works that he's heard that he's going to be working on in the not too distant future. So, your thoughts on a Peacemaker season 2 if that happens, and a continuation of the TV series? I'm assuming there still will be a Suicide Squad 2 per se movie that's
Right.
coming up in the not too distant future,
Right.
but this continuation so far in the TV land for HBO Max.
Well, if there is a season 2 of the Peacemaker, I hope it's. I don't want to. Is kind of do I say I hope it's better, because I don't think it's a bad show. It's just a show that was not made for someone like me. And by someone like me, I mean someone who has like a kind of a passing interest in the deeper comic book movies. And to me, Peacemaker is one of those deeper characters. And yeah, it's just not doing it for me. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it. I don't know. Again, I'm just not sure, Gerald. I think maybe and I'm the first person to admit that I have a pretty basic sense of humor. You know, I find slapstick comedy hysterical. But there's just something about this show that I'm just not clicking with. And I don't want to say that the humor is too immature, because I have an incredibly immature sense of humor. But maybe
It does go off into that detail. I mean, if
yeah, like
you're, I don't
maybe
want to,
it's
how if I categorize it, if you're a teenager,
exactly. Yeah.
if you're a teenager, this is something that I think a lot of teenagers out there may gravitate towards you, or young individuals who love that type of raunchy comedy.
Right.
That's something I think they're really going to connect with, and that's
Yeah.
maybe why the reason why
Maybe
it's
that's what it
doing so
is.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Maybe that's what it is, like for me on a personal level. It could be that easy. And so maybe season 2 will give us something a little it's so weird to say more mature for a show that is a mature show. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
But maybe it'll grow up a little bit into the second season. And didn't wasn't it written during like the first 3 months of like the global shutdown for COVID? Isn't that when this was written? And then,
Yes.
yeah, and Gunn was kind of surprised that it got picked up, and he was like, really? we're going to do this? This is the series though, right? I have that
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes.
All
And
right.
by the way, Pelimoto was dating a Jawa. That's Jawa.
Ah,
Yes,
Jawa.
Jawa. Yes, Jawa. So knew it hit me. Just hit me like 10 minutes later, and that's what's it's not instantaneous anymore.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, speaking of no longer being a teenager, but
So the Rolodex spins a little slow once in a while. I get it. I
yeah.
get
So my gosh, the hamster is not running around in the habit trail as fast as it should be. So that's for sure. But it is Peacemaker episode 5. I know a lot of people are looking forward to seeing more of it. Again, it depends if you really love this type of, I guess humor that is going to be on the edge right there for
it.
you. I guess it's for a lot of people are enjoying it. I know the Suicide Squad leaned into that, but it didn't do it heavily. So I think a lot of people were expecting the Suicide Squad when they saw Peacemaker, and Peacemaker really dips heavily into that raunchy comedy, and I think that's what is turning a lot of people off. But I guess there's there's a lot of people that are seeing it enough to go
Yeah.
ahead and maybe warrant a season 2. So I haven't got a confirmation yet, but James Gunn has already stated that he's seeing some strong signs that a season 2 will happen.
No, well, I mean that's great. I like that. All of these comic book movies and shows are, I hope, driving people back to reading more comic books. I hope that that's a wonderful, side effect of all of this stuff coming to our TVs and the big screens and the movie theaters and stuff like that. At the very least, I hope that that's working out for the comic book side of all of this stuff too.
Absolutely. So I'm hoping that's the benefit from that. Plus, again, the Suicide Squad getting another movie, as well as the first one was made last year, which was such a really good, strong movie.
It was really good.
Yeah, then I think that's no problem at all. I'm just wondering where could they go with the second adaptation, the second TV series for HBO Max based off of the Suicide Squad. I'm interested to see which character they would choose to go ahead and center around this time, as far as that's concerned. So
Yeah, it's too bad they killed off. Oh no, now I can't remember his name. The colonel guy, the military guy that was like the lead of them all. Idris Elba's character, that would be fun. I would watch
yeah,
an Idris Elba series.
you mean Rick Flag?
Yeah, I would watch that.
Oh, Rick Flag, but then you had as far as Idris Elba's character, Rick
Yeah,
Flag was who I was talking about, the guy
yeah,
who was killed off by Peacemaker.
yeah.
I know that people maybe talk about Nathan
You know
Fillion's
what?
character.
You know what? I think I might have just realized what it is. I was not happy with the Peacemaker when that happened, and maybe I have not forgiven him for that.
Maybe that's why. Maybe
Maybe
that's
that's
why.
what it is.
Maybe he didn't actually kill Rick Flag after all. You never know.
Hope not.
We'll see. We'll see if when the Suicide Squad 2 ever comes out as a full-fledged movie, but we will be seeing more, most likely, in the Suicide Squad as far as TV shows are concerned, with a possible season 2, a very strong possibility of that, season 2 of Peacemaker, and something else in the universe of the Suicide Squad coming as a TV show to HBO Max. What are your ideas on who would be the next candidate to lead a series for HBO Max in the world of the Suicide Squad? Please let us know. PopCultureCosmos@yahoo.com. I want to go ahead and make sure before we head on the break that Melinda is going to go ahead and tell me exactly her thoughts on what's going on with Peacock, because Peacock reported a $1.7 billion loss as part of the Comcast sharings. Now, Comcast overall was doing pretty good. They announced that their earnings were up. I think that the stock overall was doing okay, and I think everything there is fine. But Peacock, their department, second straight year they've lost hundreds of millions of dollars. In this case, a billion, $1.7 billion. That can't be good for long term. I understand that Netflix loses money year after year after year, but they've got 200 million subscribers.
Yeah.
Right now, out of the 25 million or so individuals out there that have watched a portion of Peacock, most are on the free version. Only 9 million are on paid subscriberships right now, and that's something of concern to me. So before we head to the break, I want to hear your thoughts on this. I know that Peacock is still developing shows. They're still acting like everything's okay. There's nothing I heard as far as that Peacock is on the way out. But in this world that you and I now know, the streaming outlets that are like a dime a dozen,
Yeah.
and we talked about how many heavyweight streaming outlets that there are, one of these or two of these have got to fall in the next few years. Could Peacock be that very first one to fall? Could it be that first domino to fall in the streaming wars?
Oh gosh. I mean, it very well could be. I don't know that I don't think I go to Peacock to watch much. Is that no, I don't. I definitely don't. I spend all of my time with Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, and what's the fourth one? Hulu, Disney Plus, Netflix. Anyway, there's a fourth one in there. And I never go to Peacock. I don't go to it searching out anything in particular. Maybe they just need a couple of big hits, I think. Like you gotta watch this. And then you gotta find a way to hit that buzz, the water cooler talk, the tweets and the retweets and all of that kind of stuff. And what I think once they're able to do that and they get a couple of shows that have some really good hype and some really good buzz, I think they'll be able to turn that around. But I'm not surprised to hear that they're losing money. That doesn't really surprise me all that much. I mean, 9 million subscribers and 25 million pay free ones. Perhaps you should start charging those people.
Well, that was the idea, to get everybody enticed, as far as for a free version. Here's your little bits of candy. Oh, you want to go ahead and have the whole thing? Go ahead and just go ahead and subscribe today. But with all the other outlets that there are out there, it's really, you really need something to stand out. The WWE network, which they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on, that they will for at least 5 years.
Yeah.
That's not really been that big boon that they were hoping for. So,
which, by the way, is a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. I love the fact that it's on there.
I watched the match between Hulk Hogan and Macho Man the other day where they were like brought in on like the chariots and the whole thing. It was incredible to watch that again. And that was so fun. So, if you, and I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't put that on and just like kind of have it on in the background during the day. And every once in a while between, cooking dinner and vacuuming the living room, you're going to catch some cool match that you completely forgot about. Like I completely forgot about the Legion of Doom. And I've got to watch them do a couple of matches, the Bushwhackers. I mean, that's some fun stuff to watch.
Yes.
Like, there's some real nostalgia there. So
there's not much beyond that. I mean, Saved by the Bell, the new series, the reboot. I mean, that's done okay. I know MacGruber that has done okay for the outlet as well. I know they have some properties with The Office was something that they bringing that back into the fold. That was something with their exclusive content that they were going to go ahead and showcase off on there. I thought that was something that was going to drive people in because it was such a foundational piece of Netflix at one time. It really hasn't worked out like that. So I think they need to go ahead and have some of these big entities that they have like The Office and say, you know what, we need to do some offshoot of The Office and put it on there. We need to have something that's relating to The Office that's going to get people talking. They also have, because it's Universal, the opportunity to go ahead and do something within the realm of the Fast and Furious. And I've always talked about it on the show before that a series based off the Fast and Furious, or after the movie series was done, I thought was going to be a natural. They might need to do it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Are all of the Fast and Furious movies on there now?
I'm not sure if they're all on there now. I know I see them transitioning. Like for instance, HBO Max, I believe, has some of the Fast and Furious. I know they're still contracted out to to spread out. I think that's maybe existing contracts that they have to go ahead and fulfill, but it is a Universal property, and if Universal has the rights to the Fast and Furious series, I think it's a natural that you go ahead, like the Universal Studios has a Fast and Furious ride.
Right.
You need to go ahead and do something similarly with the series and just go ahead and make something that people can relate to. So hopefully that can bring in some new customers.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. There's also what do you think it would take to do like a partnership with, say, a Hulu or a Netflix? So how you have like documentaries, continue watching, trending now. Why don't you just have a little strip on there that just says Peacock content or something, and then have all of the Peacock available stuff right there on your Netflix? That way you could charge a little bit more again for Netflix. I know, don't at me, I'm sorry. And then Peacock takes a portion of that new payment from Netflix, and they continue to develop their content on the side. They could almost become a like a proving ground, maybe, for some of the more like experimental stuff that Netflix has been talking about doing.
Well, we'll see what happens, my friend, but there needs to be some type of infusion of something that's going to get people talking and people paying for right now what you see on Peacock, because I think the future is not great for Peacock. This is just something I'm getting vibes off, as my daughters would say. The vibes. It's all about the vibes.
The vibes, not right, man. But yeah, you could do like the first season of The Office for everybody who has Peacock for your paid, but then all of the rest of the seasons, you have to be a paid subscriber to get them. It sucks when you do that, but it's going to get people to pay.
Well, what are you going to do? I mean, at this point, to get the kind of content, they have to bring in the content now to go ahead and bring the people in. It's not going to be first, okay, the people come first and then the content. Now it's going to be a situation where you need to impress us and bring us over, because now it gets to the point where things are costing so much where I now have to sacrifice, in order to go to Peacock, I would have to sacrifice one other of these streaming outlets that I go ahead and currently own. That's the case. And a lot of people have to do that too. So you've got to go ahead and go out of your way to make sure that Peacock is an attractive, viable entity. And I don't think they do a good enough job for that.
They need to make sure that it's top of mind as well, because when I think streaming services, there's two that never come to mind: Paramount Plus and Peacock. They never cross my mind.
Yeah, I agree. It's just something that when you talk about the top 3 or 4, they just never come up. They never come up as an answer. And that's something that I think has to change. Because in the not too future, if you're going to go ahead and continue to lose $1 billion+
Whoa.
that's a hard pill to swallow for Comcast.
Do you know how upset I get if I lose $5?
Obviously, Comcast doesn't get too upset right now, but
man.
I just think down the road you cannot continuously lose that kind of money, or else changes are going to be made.
Yeah. Wow. Never mind. That's a conversation that we should have off camera. I just had an idea. We need to write a letter to Peacock.
There you go. There you go, indeed.
I'm just gonna make a note so we can talk about it in a second.
Okay. But what are your thoughts out there on Peacock? Are you still watching it? Are you a subscriber? Have you even ever checked out anything that's gone on in the world of Peacock? Are you concerned that Peacock's Peacock's future is numbered? The days are numbered for Peacock. So please let us know your thoughts on the Peacock universe, the Peacock streaming channel, because we'd love to hear them and to see if you're an active viewer, watcher, participant in whatever they do. So please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, coming up next, it's John Orlando from the PVD cast. He's going to go ahead and preview the Royal Rumble with me and talk about GCW as a viable entity on the pro wrestling landscape. So we'll talk about that coming up after the break. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back to close out the show. It's the PCC Multiverse. It's Gerald Glassford along with my good friend, Miss Melinda Barkhouse Ross, the master of all that is vampires and vitae. Please go ahead.
I just create weird characters.
Well, you also go ahead and produce the show. So,
yeah, I do that part. Yeah.
Yes. So if you want to go ahead and check out some great tabletop RPG action, please go ahead and check it out today. Vampires and Vitae. I always put it right there in the description. Just click on the link and it takes you right to all the action therein. But before we head on out, my friend, Star Trek Picard. Season 2 is around the corner.
Yes.
We've already seen the appearance of Q is on the way. We already know that's coming up.
Yeah.
And they go back to the 20th century. They go back to our present time. And it's one of those types of deals where we've seen in Star Trek before. When in doubt, let's go back to our time, the 20th century or the 21st century now that is, and go ahead and wreak some havoc there. So they're doing something there as far as Q putting them in a situation where they have to go back in time and try to correct something in order to save the galaxy, I'm assuming. It's only that. Yeah. So, I mean, they've only done that like 3 or 4 times or 5 or 6 or 7 times in Star Trek.
Hush. It's been innovative every time they've done it, Gerald.
Okay, fair enough. But I want to hear your thoughts on this. Patrick Stewart recently mentioned that Star Trek 3 was going to be the finale for the series. And then there had to be a lot of backtracking as far as from an official standpoint from Paramount and Star Trek entities saying, not so fast. That may not be the case. So some outlets are saying that it will be the end after season 3. Some of them say that it could continue on. I think with Patrick Stewart's age, who would be 82, 83 in a season 3, that your days are numbered when your leading man and the guy that you named the series after is going to be in his mid-80s by the time season 3 is done. Your thoughts on this? I think season 3 is a good time to end it. There's still other Star Trek shows, very good Star Trek shows that people can check out on Paramount Plus. But your thoughts on Star Trek Picard? You've held it in much higher regard than I have. I thought it's okay. But you've really enjoyed your time with it. I'm looking forward to season 2 because Q, it always is a win-win for me.
Oh,
but your thoughts
Q is really fantastic. Yeah.
But your thoughts on Picard ending at a possible season 3?
It makes sense. As you said, his age would definitely be a factor. Like right now, he's 81. So yeah, we're looking 82, 83, maybe even 84. And who wants to work at that point? Like he's still doing conventions. I saw him in Montreal a couple of years ago, had my picture taken. Hey. But what would be
Clint Eastwood wants to work into his 90s, and he's in his 90s.
For sure. But he's also like behind the camera, I guess he has done a couple of movies, hasn't he?
Yes.
Anyway, but that's still the same. Never mind. I don't have an argument for that. But I think that what would be interesting and what would be clever is Michael Dorn, who played Worf. for a very long time has been championing a series called Captain Worf. So perhaps Picard could give way to a series based on Worf.
I actually saw something that like that was mentioned when it was talking about the series in the mid 2000s before
Yes.
Star Trek, the rebooted motion picture. That was one of the things that Michael Dorn was trying to toss around that didn't get really any kind of traction.
Yeah.
So that's something that maybe now that Star Trek Picard has come to life, maybe that would be a great thing because people love those episodes in the past on TNG and Deep Space Nine. They love those
Absolutely.
Klingon episodes, learning
Oh,
more
they're
about the
so
Klingon
good.
culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for the
So,
beginning of Discovery, that wasn't good Klingons.
yeah.
Man.
So, maybe that we should. Maybe we should see a Star Trek Worf. That would be a good sign for the series if it continued into that fashion. But
Yeah.
we'll wait and see. But I think season 3 is a good time to close out the series for Picard.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm very much one of those people who like is more Star Trek is always better Star Trek than no Star Trek. So I'll be sad to see it go because I have enjoyed it so much and it's been just wonderful. And it's how can I put it so I don't sound too cheesy? Oh, you know what? I'm just not even going to worry about it. When I put on Star Trek Picard, it feels like I am grabbing like an old blanket and I'm sitting back on my mom's couch and me and dad are hanging out and we're just watching Star Trek together. Like
Putting on a blanket.
Yeah, that's what Star Trek Picard has done for me. And I think that's probably so much of why I've enjoyed it so much is because there's so much just nostalgia of seeing him on the screen as Picard again. I don't know that I need more than 3 seasons, and I don't know that Patrick Stewart with this character has more than 3 seasons in him. I think that he took the job, and I think that this was almost like a farewell letter that he's been writing to Star Trek fans and fans of the Next Generation in particular. And I think that as long as he ends it on a sweet note and gives Picard that perfect ending, I'm going to be perfectly happy with it ending in 3 seasons.
Fair enough, indeed. I agree with you. I think as long as that ends out on a high note, maybe something to go along with Q and something just to tie up all those loose ends, that'll be a great way to go ahead and go on out in a season 3. But we want to hear your thoughts out there, all you Star Trek fans. Is 3 seasons enough for Star Trek Picard? We want to hear your thoughts. PopCultureCosmos@yahoo.com. But before we head on out, Melinda, one last thing. EA announced that one of their major studios, Respawn, who has created such great games like the Titanfall series and also as well the latest Star Wars game that came out that got a lot of pub out there as far as it's just a tremendous amount of success. They announced that they're going ahead with 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 Star Wars games as far as coming up in the not too distant future from them. And of course, they just recently just had the success of Jedi Fallen Order, which again was a great narrative driven game. A lot of people compared it to a Dark Souls type deal, which just gravitated to a very challenging game, but it still had a great narrative. A lot of people enjoyed it, sold very well. They announced a Jedi Fallen Order 2, plus a first person shooter and another Star Wars game on the way. But if you were head of Electronic Arts, and you were to want to go ahead and create your own game in the Star Wars universe, let us know before we head on out.
I would like to see a video game explore Order 66.
There you go.
That's what
Order 66.
Yeah,
Kill the Jedi.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. And you could play as, an Imperial starship people, or you could play as, some Jedi running from them. I don't know. I just think it would be cool.
Order 66. The Jedi must not live.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds very evil. Sounds very cool. That would be a very good look at the way to go ahead and structure that. You could also create a multiplayer environment from that as well. Very interesting indeed. I kind of like that concept. For me, it just comes down to one simple Star Wars thing that they should go ahead and tap into that they have not yet, which I think would still make a lot of money. And that's a Star Wars The Mandalorian video game. I think that's right there, bread and butter.
Yeah,
right
that
there.
kind of makes a whole lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, especially after seeing episode 5 of the Book of Boba. Oh, excuse me, the Book of Mandalorian. Yeah. So that's it. I mean, right there, the Mandalorian. I think you would go ahead and make a lot of money if you based off of that.
Yeah,
whatever type of
definitely.
adventure you want to create. He's already been to several worlds out there, or create a whole bunch of environments. You don't necessarily have to base the whole thing on Tatooine. I
Right.
think it's basically you go ahead and all visited planets from all over, and he's interacted with a whole bunch of different characters. Yeah, the possibilities are not endless, but they're very plentiful. So yeah, make a Mandalorian video game, EA. That would be the best advice. Although right now, since EA no longer has the exclusive license for Star Wars, it could be made by any major studio out there as long as they get the approval from LucasArts. So, Melinda, let's start a studio. There you
Yeah,
go.
let's do it. I don't
Well,
know anything about programming or building a video game, but I will voice over for you.
all right, we'll get those coding books out. We'll have to because
Yeah,
we have to
right.
code all orders. Order
What
66
is
and
it?
the Mandalorian.
Isn't it
Yeah,
Python or something? I don't know.
something like that. We'll have to create our own engine and the whole
Oh,
nine yards. My God.
yeah.
Or we could pay a lot of money to Unreal to get the Unreal engine and put it on that. But
Yeah,
that's a
that's
lot.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Well,
true. But
yeah. We'll
a lot
talk.
of money.
Yeah.
We'll
We'll get our
talk.
people on it.
All right, sounds good. But if you have a thought on a Star Wars game that you would love to see created, please let us know. PopCultureCosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. Want to thank so much John Orlando for stopping by with a Royal Rumble preview for this year. Any last thoughts on the way out?
Yes. My last thought is it's okay if Picard ends at season 3, but they need to replace it with a Worf series.
No
Please.
data?
Well,
Or you
the
seen
data.
enough data?
Yeah, I mean, no, I wouldn't be upset about seeing more data, but I don't know. Deep Space Nine wasn't good until Worf joined. Once Worf joined, Deep Space Nine was a great show. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't think that you can miss with Worf. I think he's a hysterical character. I think he's great.
I thought it was well, okay. Deep Space Nine discussion for another day. I didn't think it was so bad before you joined, but
Oh, come on now.
all right. I thought it was better. I thought it was good. I thought it was good when he was in it. I thought it was good. I thought
Is
it
that
was
our next hot topic debate?
We might have to have that discussion. Deep Space Nine.
Right.
That's going to be very deep indeed.
Yes, right.
So for Melinda Barkhouse Ross, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great